Earlier this week, NBC Sports Boston's John Tomase published his list of the 11 biggest sports villains in the city of Boston, and to be honest, I think the list isn't that great. There's a couple glaring omissions that really should be on there, and there's a couple guys on there that I don't think should be on there. It's on screen right now, so maybe you agree with it, maybe you don't, but in my mind, there are 10 villains in Boston sports that are above the rest of them. Now, here's where I say I'm 21, I'm a little bit younger, so maybe I have a bit of recency bias, but with that in mind, here are my 10 biggest Boston sports villains. Number 10, Chaim Bloom. Tomase put John Henry, the Red Sox owner, in the 11th spot on his list, but I'm going with the man Henry put in charge to lead off the night. Chaim Bloom was touted as a great hire for the Red Sox when they snatched him away from the Tampa Bay Rays in the 2019 offseason. With his acumen of developing prospects and sometimes no-name major leaguers into stars, fans were excited to see what he could do with a team that had just won the World Series in 2018. What Bloom did, however, was a conflicting mess of salary dumps and big contracts. Trading 2018 MVP and clubhouse leader Mookie Betts to the Dodgers showed Red Sox Nation what the future was to hold. A clear signal of cutting payroll, the Red Sox limped through the 60-game 2020 season before making an impressive run to the ALCS in 2021. To be honest, Bloom wouldn't be here if it wasn't for how things were poorly managed after that run. Mid-season acquisition Kyle Schwarber left Boston for 4 years $88 million in Philly, a price deemed too steep for Boston. Yet they signed Trevor Story for 6 years $140 million the same offseason. Letting fan favorite Xander Bogaerts walk the following year surely didn't help, and neither did trading breakout star Hunter Renfroe to Milwaukee for a well past his prime Jackie Bradley Jr. Fans were furious at how Boston went from one of the league's biggest spenders to feeling like the Tampa Bay Red Sox. While the team is rebuilding under Craig Breslow, the steps forward on the field have given fans hope for the future, something that was uncertain under our number 10 Boston villain. Number 9, PK Subban. There aren't many names that create a visceral facial response like the one that PK Subban's name brings in Boston. The Habs and Bruins rivalry reached a high point of intensity in the 2010s. The physical nature of both teams and numerous cheap shots on both sides made every player easy to hate, but PK Subban was hated on a different level. Subban had a few crucial goals in multiple playoff series against the Bruins, including a double OT winner in Game 1 of the 2014 second round. Subban's goal scoring is remembered with almost as much disgust as his style of play. From diving to dirty hits, there's an entire Reddit thread from a Bruins fan about why people shouldn't like PK Subban the player. But at times, the best player on the Bruins' biggest rival, PK Subban is undoubtedly one of the 10 biggest sports villains in Boston. Number 8, Jack Tatum. John Tomase had Tatum a little higher on his list, and after reading the story, I feel like there's no other option than to put Tatum here. Jack Tatum, safety for the then Oakland Raiders, delivered one of the worst hits in NFL history on Patriots wide receiver Darryl Stingley during a preseason game. With Stingley's helmet colliding with Tatum's shoulder pad, the hit led to Stingley becoming quadriplegic. Tomase said of Tatum, "Villain doesn't begin to describe Tatum's place in Boston sports history. Pure evil might be better." There were conflicting stories of whether Tatum tried to apologize, with Tatum saying Stingley's family turned him away when he tried to, while Stingley had said Tatum had never actually tried to apologize. Regardless, older fans of the New England Patriots know the name Jack Tatum, and he is undoubtedly hated in the region. Number 7, Bucky Dent. Whenever your nickname in a city is Bucky fucking Dent, you know that you've reached villain status. Painting the picture, in Game 162 of the 1978 season, the Red Sox shut out the Blue Jays 5-0, while the dreaded New York Yankees lost 9-2 to Cleveland, thus setting up a Game 63 between the two teams at Fenway Park. With the Red Sox up 2-0 in the 7th, Bucky Dent smashed a 3-run homer to give the Yankees a 3-2 lead. With all the momentum shifting towards the Yankees, they went on to add 2 more runs, giving themselves a 5-2 lead. And while the Red Sox scored 2, they couldn't complete the comeback, losing 5-4, missing out on the 1978 playoffs. The home run by Dent is one of just 40 in his career, and with the Red Sox curse reaching 60 years in 1978, Bucky Dent is another name in the history books of Red Sox and Boston villains. Number 6, Eli Manning. The 2000s-2010s Patriots dynasty has been the villains for so many other sports cities. Virtually every team experienced the wrath of the greatest dynasty in professional sports during its heyday. But hey, even villains need villains. Eli Manning is hated for ruining the Patriots' perfect season. how he didn't get sacked, how he got that ball off to David Tyree. It's all unbelievable. And ask any Patriots fan, would you give up the last 3 rings to have that 19-0 season? And a majority of them say yes. However, the perfect season wasn't the only time Eli Manning ruined the Patriots' Super Bowl hopes. In 2012, it was a similar story, throwing a perfect pass to Mario Manningham to set up a game-winning touchdown. He couldn't keep getting away with it, but he did. And while his brother Peyton Manning was far more successful, Eli Manning is without a doubt the bigger villain in Patriots history. Number 5, LeBron James. Here's where my recency bias comes back. There is no bigger boogeyman in the history of the Boston Celtics than LeBron James. While not as viscerally hated as a certain former teammate, we'll get to him, LeBron was a consistent roadblock for the Celtics in the 2010s. From 2011 until LeBron left for the Lakers in 2018, the greatest NBA player of all time was responsible for 5 of the Celtics' playoff eliminations. In LeBron's entire NBA career, the Celtics have only beaten him twice in the playoffs, those 2 teams being the 2008 team that won the NBA Finals and the 2009-10 team that lost to the Lakers in the NBA Finals. LeBron was the boogeyman for the better part of a decade, and it didn't matter who the star was for Boston. Jason Tatum, Kyrie Irving, Jaylen Brown, Isaiah Thomas, LeBron James beat them all. And while there's a level of respect that you have to give King James, he's undoubtedly one of the most hated athletes in Boston. Number 4, Bill Laimbeer. While LeBron James is genuinely respected by reasonable Celtics fans, even the most reasonable Celtics fans will tell you Bill Laimbeer is hated in the city of Boston. Hell, Bill Laimbeer is hated by the entire NBA, but that's been done to death. Laimbeer was one of the dirtiest players in the NBA, and that was showcased for all of Boston when he clotheslined Larry Bird. Watching the footage, it doesn't look that bad, but it was enough to get Larry Bird to go God mode on the Pistons. And Robert Parrish squaring up in Game 5 was described by one YouTube commenter as one of the most satisfying scenes of my childhood. Forever hated, never respected, Bill Laimbeer is an incredible villain for the entire NBA, but especially for Boston. And number 3, Kyrie Irving. Rounding out the basketball players on this list is the man John Tomase called the number 1 villain in Boston sports history, Kyrie Irving. So why do I have Irving this low? Kyrie Irving forced his way out of Cleveland, wanting to be the star of a team, only to end up behind Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Frustrated that he wasn't the number 1 option, he left. He never won a ring with Boston, never made the NBA Finals, and at times the team performed better without Kyrie on the court. He's been playing the role of villain to a T, flipping off Boston fans and stomping on Lucky mid-game. My big issue with Tomase putting him at number 1 is this. What has Kyrie done against Boston? He's had great performances, but he's only beaten them in the playoffs once, and it was in the first round. The stakes weren't massive, and the Nets didn't even make the NBA Finals that year. That being said, if Kyrie and the Mavericks win the NBA Finals over the Boston Celtics this year, I'll be happy to move them up. But for now, Kyrie Irving is the number 3 villain in Boston history. Number 2, Alex Rodriguez. There was a time when Alex Rodriguez was supposed to be the Red Sox shortstop. This is the start of the beef with Boston. When the trade was vetoed by the MLB Players Association, A-Rod failed to see his dream of playing in the Red Sox-Yankees rivalry. Then, Yankees GM Brian Cashman swooped in. With A-Rod willing to play third base, the Yankees agreed to a trade with the Rangers, acquiring the 2003 AL MVP. This move was the equivalent of adding napalm to the forest fire that was the Red Sox-Yankees rivalry at this point, and Rodriguez would be a pivotal part in many moments in the historical beef between the 2 clubs. Slapping the ball out of Bronson Arroyo's glove, getting drilled by Arroyo, and fighting Captain Jason Varitek, Rodriguez instantly became one of the most hated men, let alone athletes, in Boston. A season-long ban for performance-enhancing drugs was just more fuel to the Red Sox fans' hatred of A-Rod. Genuinely, I've only heard one person be booed more by Boston sports fans. And number 1, Roger Goodell, the NFL commissioner. I love Tomase's inclusion of Roger Goodell in this list, however, I think he's an easy number 1. New England bias here, Deflategate was an absolute sham. Anyone who knows anything about science or has ever left a ball out in the cold overnight knows it begins to deflate. The decision to suspend Tom Brady 4 games after not giving any suspensions for Spygate, a scandal that was actually real, was a move meant to stop the criticism of his time as commissioner. There has never been any joy greater than watching Roger Goodell hand the Lombardi Trophy to Robert Kraft, Bill Belichick, or Tom Brady. Go into Boston and you'll probably see someone wearing a t-shirt with Goodell's face covered in clown makeup, and you can't say that about any athlete ever. Undoubtedly, Roger Goodell is the #1 villain in Boston sports history. And that is my top 10 Boston sports villains. Do you agree with me? Disagree? What do you think I did right? Who did I forget? Who did I put too high, too low? Let me know down below. Until next time, I'm Ryan Hughes. Have a good day.